Hello, everyone. So, I've been having these recurring thoughts, these situations, and it's something that I did in relationships too, where when things go south, when things are uncertain, I just think of all the different ways, all the things that I would have said given a certain situation occurred. If someone brought up cheating, how would I respond? Or if I know that an argument is coming up, the different possible avenues that might occur, my potential responses. I like to think through these things because it gives me solace, even if it might not change the outcome in the moment. Sometimes a thought just never occurs. That preventative action makes me feel productive, like I'm putting in effort. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. It's not help me maintain relationships. It's not necessarily made my relationships better. If anything, it just made me obsess over something and make something bigger than it actually was. But as long as I had that solace that I put in that effort, that I thought about something, that I cared about something in that way, I told myself that I was putting in effort in the relationship, I was putting the best foot forward. And that relationship was never represented. It just maybe I was better articulated, but ultimately it just stopped me from feeling what the other person said. And instead of hearing them for what they were saying in the moment, I was listening for what I thought they would say and then responding based off of that. And I know I already made a video about this, about like when you listen to the words that somebody says, but you're not actually hearing their intentions. But how I end up giving myself closure is by entertaining these thoughts, and it's going to keep happening to me in the car. And one of the ways that I like to solidify these fleeting thoughts, these moments, capturing my thoughts at a particular time, is I make these videos. And like my therapy, instead of going to a shrink, I load up some Overwatch content, which this is all very old content, like recorded in a series of weeks over last break. I don't think I've touched Overwatch since since summer, and it's currently winter, and I'm still using the Overwatch footage. But I get on here, I load up the clips, and then I just talk. And it's good practice for public speaking, but it's also just nice to get my thoughts out there in the universe. And I know that they're out there, and it's not hard to look at the watch metrics. You know that nobody is listening, and that's kind of peaceful for me. That it's out there, anyone could go after it, but no one is. And it's just uniquely mine out there on the internet forever, hiding behind an alias and identity that will hopefully never track back to me. So, with that being said, I made a letter to one of my most recent ex's mothers, thanking her for trusting me with her one and only daughter. And I always thought that was something really special, really remarkable. Even if the relationship didn't turn out, even after all the things that I heard about her from her daughter, she trusted me. And I was in a position where I'm not really sure if I would have trusted me. So it meant a lot to have that faith. But here's my deliberations about my exes. Okay. To my most recent ex, I don't know how you're doing now. I imagine that somewhere along the way, you found your way into somebody else's arms. I think it was around 3 months after the breakup, somebody sent me a text saying they found you on Hinge, which was interesting to me at the time. But it gave me the sudden realization of why should I care? You invest so much in someone, you only want the best for them. And something that you quietly accept in the face of rejection is that the best thing for somebody might not be yourself. You hope it's you. You really do. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. If anything, it's probably the start of a new journey for both of you. Hopefully to something better. And it's in that realization that it's never going to be perfect, that it may never be the right time. It's just an excuse that you might make to make yourself feel better about yourself as a person, to let the other person down easy. But what I said in the car, I meant. And it was that if we really were the right people, and it wouldn't matter if it was the right time or not. Right? Does it really take both? Can you really be the right person and it just be the wrong time? I found that hard to believe. Because maybe when it was the right time, I wouldn't be the same person. If there was to ever be. And it's nice to engage in that fantasy. I like to tell myself about what could have been, but ultimately, I'll never know. And a breakup is something that I've experienced before. But every relationship is a series of firsts, and you were my longest, most I ever invested into. Met my entire family, was at the holidays, and we're back in the holiday season. And I'm realizing this time around that you're not there. And my sister still has her boyfriend around. And I know that we set the pathway for him to be able to attend our December. Your legacy was that now he feels more comfortable to attend, even with you gone. And it was an interesting realization for me. I don't know how you're doing now. At the time that we were breaking up, you had just gotten into your dream school after recently getting into your dream job, and you've been spending more time away. It had only been getting more difficult to see you. Looking back on the time that I have now, I'm in a position that I would have dreamed of when initially coming into college. And I realized that I've achieved some of my dreams. Something that I told you about, something that I longed for so long, and yet you're not here to see it. And I feel like I've grown a lot as a person. I've definitely gained a lot more professional experience. Worked a lot. I feel like I've grown a lot as an individual. I really put myself out there this semester. And over the summer that came without you, I reconnected with a lot of friends that I didn't realize I'd neglected. And I got a lot closer with my family. I heard a lot of grievances about you. I can't really lie. And it, even in a sad way, because I don't like to believe that I've made a bad decision or I chose wrongly, it reminded me that these people were by my side, whether or not they truly saw the things that I saw or they believed in the things that I said. They had their own opinions and they had the respect to give me the space to make my own mistakes and be my own person. And looking back at it in post hoc, maybe you realized it before I did, but we changed. Our value systems changed. Maybe mine stayed the same, maybe yours changed. In all honesty, I think both of our systems changed, and I just wasn't willing to admit it. Neither were you. You chose loyalty over feeling your own feelings. Never cheated on me. That's a testament to your strength, to your discipline. But you were looking for an escape. You were meeting new people, even when we were in the relationship. And even if they didn't become a romantic interest at the time or ever, you were putting yourself out there. Way before we ever broke up. And you didn't realize it at the time either, that you wanted to leverage these new connections into something new, but my friends are still around. And they've seen it. It always bothered me when you'd come back and you'd tell me about the people that you choose to surround yourself with, and they engage in a way that is completely contrary to the values that you said that you'd hold for yourself. And then you changed. And you started becoming like them a little bit, and a little bit more. And I never got to find out if you really ended up as them in the end. And the unfortunate part of closure is that I'll never really know. In the car, at the time you broke up with me, you gave me the space to ask all the questions that I ever wanted to ask, get closure, give me the time to heal. In the moment, I felt so heated. Like, I had tried to give you everything. I thought that I had learned from my mistakes in the past and I was the best boyfriend that I could have ever been. And it still wasn't enough. And I had that sinking feeling that it never would be. I never would be. And been watching a lot of self-help videos, a lot of analogies, a lot of stories, a lot of people telling themselves what they have to, thinking of things in certain ways to inspire them to keep going, to keep taking chances, to keep taking risks. And despite watching all of that, I haven't. I surrounded myself with couples, actually. It gives me hope that there's still something more for me out there, but on the contrary, I can't date any of them. I have female friends now. That's something that I couldn't have when I was dating you. Maybe it was my track record of having romantic relations with every girl outside of my family that I've ever known, or of one of them wanting romantic relations with me. Maybe I'm a natural flirtatious personality. Or maybe I just really suck at making female friends, and the only ones that approach me are the ones that already like me. Either way, it's been different for me now. I think I can have female friends. And it's been nice. I've had new balance. I've met a lot of people. I feel like I've made some really quality friends, maintained some great friends, and I have a circle, multiple circles, in college and at home too. It's been getting harder to spend time with the people that I love and care about, but I've been making it work. And I'm realizing that when you were looking at the new life that you were leading, filled with all sorts of people that you weren't sure if you were going to have more time to spend with me, and I knew that I was going to be more committed to things, and it just looked more and more unrealistic for us to see each other. The relationship looked grim. And I think you realized it before me, that not only had our value systems changed, but our willingness to push through them as well. It was the silent protest of, there's this thing that I don't like about you, and I don't even want to talk about it. I am enjoying the comfort while it lasts, but I'm not willing to admit that it's unsustainable, and I'm unwilling to fight anymore. And that silence went from days to weeks. To the last times that we had for each other, we stopped making time for each other, and the last weeks that we spent together didn't feel like we spent them together at all. I felt like we were just bracing for impact. I remember the last time that I saw you before the breakup, we didn't even kiss, or hold hands, or cuddle, or do much of anything, honestly. And I feel like at that point, I should have known. But I didn't. I wasn't willing to give up all the months that we'd spent, all the money that I put in, and you. We both invested so much into that relationship that I really just couldn't bring myself to let it go. But even if at the time you didn't really know why, you knew that there was something dividing us, that was separating us, that was splitting us apart. And maybe I wasn't ready to admit it. And you weren't either. So it took time. It took time for you to be sure. To get the confidence to do it without breaking down. And you broke down anyway. And to be able to look at me in my face and give up what you felt like you had worked so hard for, sacrificed so much for, changed so much for, grew so much for. And in the end, you still looked at me in the face and told me that it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that difficult. And I left that car crying. I sat in that car in silence for God knows how long. And not a single tear dropped. And yours had dried up and we just sat in silence. You said that you wanted to stay friends. And it's a line I've heard and it feels like a million times. And I always know it to never be true. It's just difficult to lose it all at once. But I know that you just have to rip off the band-aid and take space. Let your heart heal. So I did. And I cried. And I cried for the first time in a long time. I think the last time I cried, I broke a bone. And my mom was there. Talked to my mom. And then sat in silence. First time in a long time. And maybe it had been a long time coming. The way that I have been talking about you had just become more and more grim. Like I was just waiting for something radical to change. I was so hung on to this idea of this person who no longer existed. And for a while you were selling me on it too. And you weren't willing to admit that you wanted to become somebody else. Someone less principled. Someone less committed to ideas that you no longer believed in. Since honestly, once you got to college and all the pressure went away, you realized that all the things that you stood for didn't really matter in the long run. And you could still find success without being so regimented. And that hurt us. Because I lost that love for the person that I thought had values so similar to mine. I lost respect for the lifestyle that you started leading. And the more I learned about you, the less that I love the idea of you and of our future. And we had hard times. Long, hard times to factors somewhat outside of our control. Some of it directly due to us experimenting. And they were difficult. I got pushed outside of my comfort zone. It started getting hard to look you in the eyes. And this is all reminiscing of the time that we lost. I don't feel like I've changed much, despite saying that I changed and grew so much. I don't know how many months it's been, but it's definitely been more than when I said to break no contact. But I still have you blocked on everything. I can't bear to see your face. Every time I open LinkedIn, you're the first thing that I see. And I'm not even connected with you. I don't know why the recommendation system does that. But I've been starting working on myself. I've been staying in shape. Becoming the person I was before I met you, body-wise. I know we put on weight, love to eat. And I've grown so much. And yet, still haven't found something new. Still feels like I haven't moved on. I say that it gets, after every ex, my standards get higher, stricter, more don'ts, less do's. But I haven't found somebody that have the opportunity to, nor be willing to replace you. And nor would I want someone to. I don't want necessarily what we had. I hope for something different. I don't want to just see my next endeavor as a mirror of my ex, or compare them to something that didn't work. But I don't have the faith in myself right now to do that. It's another reason why I haven't found anything new. I'm assuming you haven't had this problem, considering you've been exploring dating apps and you're at a college that you're a great fit for. But what am I to know? I haven't talked to you since. Haven't seen your friends. Made deliberate effort to avoid them. And there's a part of this reality that I know that I'll never want to. I'll never want to see you again. I don't really want to know what's going on with you or how you've been. Because you're not the person that I once loved. That person is long gone. And I don't think they'll ever come back. Because that would mean that you'd have to move backwards. I've become a less disciplined person. It's a consequence of me trying to find balance in my life. Realizing that rules aren't everything. And that I should focus on how life feels. Like you did. Instead of what I think life should be. I can focus on what life is. And between the two of us, maybe it was never meant to be. Maybe you had realized that your loyalty afforded you nothing. That your thoughts and your feelings mattered more than what you thought was valuable or worth feeling. Maybe you saw me as a status symbol. But in the time that we spent apart, I realized I sacrificed part of myself to fight for something I didn't believe in. I made promises that I couldn't keep. I couldn't guarantee that you would stay the person I loved. I said I love you a lot. And I don't mean it in that sense. I don't like saying the word. I did a lot of awkward things. Things that I might have regretted. Maybe I wish I could have taken back, but I can't afford to live by that mindset. So, here I am. Maybe this is my closure. And I don't want to say I'm done thinking about you in the car, or I'm done reminiscing on what went well and what didn't, and how I can be a better person, and how I can look for something new, and who I want to become that person with, what's left for me. But what I can confidently say is, I'm glad I met you. Since I never would have learned that it doesn't matter if you're enough or if you're not. It mostly matters how that person feels about you, and that's kind of out of your control. And things don't have to be perfect. They don't have to pan up to all of your dreams and the ideas that you have for yourself. They just have to be good enough. It has to feel right. It doesn't necessarily have to be right. And when you lose respect for someone, how can you still love them? What does it really mean to love someone at all? I don't think I had the answer to that. It's just felt nice to be seemingly intimate with someone, but I lacked the emotional intimacy to talk about how I really felt. I thought I was communicating as clearly as I was, but I was communicating to be accepted. Maybe I still feared losing something, feared losing your approval, felt pressured to become a certain person, and I thought that I became a better person in your purview, but I was able to improve so much without you, at least by my own standards, that it's really earnestly hard to believe that you made me a better person. But I still learned a lot. That's all I have to say about you. But, of course, still hope you're doing well. Still listen to our songs, Tame Impala, Frank Ocean, Don Toliver. There's things that you gifted me that I can't give up. When I'm driving and I already know where I am, I turn off my Google Maps. I try not to be redundant and run on sentences. I always fear good judgment weighing on me in a good way. It was one of the things that I always liked about you, how you seemed so clear-cut, where you always voiced your opinion and you told me things how they were, and you judged people so strongly. You just couldn't seem to judge yourself in that same way. Cared so much about what people thought, cared more about what people thought than how our relationship actually was. And maybe that's what felt right to you, but that didn't feel right to me. And I could go on and continue giving grievances of something that isn't even real anymore. But to accomplish what? Tell the void that I had a breakup, and that, of course, I didn't like things about her, but I still let her break up with me because I wanted to buy into something that I believed in. I wanted to believe that this person would still become my end-all be-all, that person was going to become the person that they said that they were going to become, even though none of their actions indicated it at that point. Yeah. That would play me for the fool. So, thank you for everything. You were one of my many firsts. And I look back at all my exes and I say that I don't regret what we did. But I hope that I can pay good riddance to our experiences by being a better person of them. Thank you. To the ex before her, I think this one fills me with the most regret. Maybe I should have realized it for my fourth ex, but again, I made promises I couldn't keep. And let's be honest, you were a rebound. You rebounded off of someone to me. I didn't believe in red flags at the time, but maybe I should have thought it was a red flag that you kept talking about your ex. And I knew this guy. And it didn't sound like what you were talking about was actually who he was. Maybe it should have alarmed me that when we broke up, a coalition of exes reached out and started talking shit about me, about you, and how you would defame me next. Maybe it was the fact that you permanently altered my image in the minds of the many women at my high school, and even when you left the high school, your friend group still hated me, and I was not able to make another girlfriend in high school unless that girl was already hated by the majority of the other girls. I don't want to call women a hindmind in a mentality sense, but the lack of commonality between men and women growing up, or should I say boys and girls, results in a stark contrast, factionism if you might say, just from biological differences. And you drove a stake through that. Drew me as an enemy. And the unfortunate part is that some of the things that happened between us wasn't really exaggerated. I know that we sought each other for physical intimacy and it happened way sooner than I wanted it to. I know I did this with my most recent ex as well, and I need to learn to say no. And not only not get my desires get the best of me, but also learn that I'm not really comfortable with physical touch as much as I think I am. And in post, being with you has filled me with a lot of regret. There was a guy that I was supposed to be close friends with, and he thinks very poorly of me because of the way that I treated you. I know you're dating him still. I heard that you're very accomplished, and I personally like dating very smart women, so your accomplishment is no surprise to me. But I imagine you're in a good spot with a man that hopefully understands you better than he did me. The biggest thing that bothered me in the relationship always was the fact that it always felt like you gave up on me. Like you saw me as so bigoted, so unworth talking to, not even worth arguing with, that your ideas were so solidified that you felt like it was an attack just to justify yourself. That you gave up talking to me. And I felt like I had a right for you to explain yourself to me. At the end of the day, I didn't really make you feel like I was giving you unconditional love and support, because that's something that I was incapable of and still am. I still judge people very harshly. I struggle to make relationships with people that don't inherently share my same value system. And in that realization, I realized that I was no different than you. I just express it in a way that I can accept. Whereas you did the same. Leaving that relationship, I realized you and I weren't so different. You took a rebound too, because you are unable to process your own emotions. You get into relationships so frequently. You had 4 exes by the time that I had 2. And in your time in high school, to get away from your parents who didn't support the relationships you were getting in, I remember sneaking around your house, and before I could drive, My dad drove me to your home and I dropped off a Christmas present. And you had to lie and say it was from a different friend. Your only male friend was gay. And you couldn't be honest with me either, since you always assumed the worst of me. Told me about how you hated men, and I always took that literally. And anytime I said anything that could partially offend you, you always took it in the worst way. Never assumed the best of me, yet you thought you gave me so much grace. And instead of overcoming that language barrier, that culture difference that we had, you just decided to shit talk me to your friends. And every time we had an argument, I wasn't just arguing with you, I was arguing with several other people. How is that fair to me? I'm not dating them, I wanted to date you. And you were just yet another ex of mine that decided that it valued more what other people thought than your own thoughts in the relationship. And you started labeling me as a bunch of red flags, and you said that despite all those red flags that you were still dating me, and you wondered why. That made me feel like such a piece of shit. And I used you to get over an ex that really just didn't work out for me. And I regret that too. Because it wasn't the best decision in the moment. I let you take advantage of me in a vulnerable state. You asked me out 7 hours after my breakup occurred. And for some reason, I had you as a female friend of mine during that relationship because I thought you were different than the other girls and that you weren't interested in me. And you were the first person I went to, before my own family, to talk about my breakup because you just happened to be awake. And I rebounded. I can't take back the way I very poorly treated you. I long conned you, played the slow game, waited for you to resent me, started treating you like shit so you'd break up with me because I told you that I never would break up with you. And I treated you like a sexual object. To be frank, you kissed me first. And every time we went out, I wanted to do something cute. Go on a walk, go on a hike. You had an underlying medical condition that it took time for you to tell me about, but until then, you just chose to make out with me instead to avoid going on a hike, and I think that we really sucked at communicating, honestly. And I supported you through the medical condition. I don't regret that. I think that's one of the most noble things that I've ever done. But you've been able to write a great story in spite of all that, and honestly, the way that you cover up man after man with another man and talk shit about them, and if that guy can get through it, then you just have like a nice relationship. Seems like you've probably forgotten all about me. But I don't really regret dating you. But I regret the man that I became when I was dating you. It was a shameful time. And I'm sorry. But you'll never hear from me. To my second ever ex. You were a childhood friend of mine. Close friends with my sister. And we met each other in Magic Land. Family camp. Away from all the noise of the hustle and bustle of the real world. No phones, no internet connection. Everyone so closely intertwined. You're a family friend, you're a close friend, you're close with my sister. And extremely talented. Like, oh my god. Multilingual, great culture, great body, honestly. Athletic, knees falling apart. But, you played volleyball, so what can you expect? And I thought you were the most awesome, beautiful, amazing person. And then I found out that you were putting up a front, that you were playing an identity that wasn't yours, and it was for the sake of the family camp. And it was a big deal. I felt a little misled. I had nothing but respect for your family. Super athletic, well put together, educated. At the time, very young for me, right when I got into high school, you were everything I could have dreamed of. Wonderful family. I thought it was all sunshine and rainbows. I found out that you had family issues, and noticing a pattern of my exes, and that your identity actually wasn't what I thought it was. Matter of fact, you didn't even identify as a girl. Sometimes you identified it as a guy. It actually changed throughout our relationship, interestingly enough. And there was such a huge culture gap between me and Berkeley. Ooh. There's no textbook. And we lived so far apart. Before I could drive, I was in 9th grade. That it was really difficult to connect with you. And when I did, it felt like you wanted physical intimacy. But what we got was emotional intimacy. And sometimes we did both, virtually. And it was difficult on us. I felt like things went too fast. I felt like we turned each other into sexual objects, and I felt like it was even more difficult to connect because once we left to the happy world of fantasy Summerland, that there was just these expectations between us, that our worlds were so different. There was struggle to connect. You judged me harshly, and I always liked that. Loved that in a woman. But it started to really beat me down when I felt like I could never win your approval. And maybe that meant I should have tried harder. But you really turned me into a well-educated person. I still try to read as fast as you. I still think you're incredibly smart. I heard you hauled ass to get as far away from California as you could. Not really surprised. And I hope you're finding acceptance wherever you're at now. I'm sure that you're still a savant and doing fantastic in your classes and probably dropped the sports without your parents pressuring you. And honestly, I would love to see you again and hear how you're doing. But I don't think I'll ever get the chance. I don't regret you. I wish I could have been a better man for you. But honestly, you deserve somebody who came from a similar background, has similar beliefs. And that's just not me. And I wish I was more culturally sensitive, but I'm just not. I don't see things that way. I grew up with an upbringing that really starkly varies from that. And I don't really mind. I'm doing just fine as I am now. I feel like I'm pretty inclusive and I'm supportive of people. But I do wish you the best. And I know we didn't really end on good terms. You said that we should still be friends, but I was unable to maintain it. I know you have a D&D character of me out there, and I never got to play as it. And maybe one day in a different world I will. But I hope someone's treating you well. I hope you're not as lonely. I hope with the space your relationship with your parents has gotten better. And I wish that you saw family as valuable as I did. But that's neither here nor there. And I hope you found the love that you were looking for, the connection with someone who is able to express that word love better than I can, because I know that I always struggled with it, and I still do. I like to show love through my actions. Words are hard for me. And yeah, unfortunately, I still think of you very highly, even if I know that you're nowhere near the same. I really forgot why we broke up. Maybe I just put too much pressure, or the distance, or the fact that it just got harder and harder to talk to me. Because I really did only increase friction between us, always forcing the judgment, always impressing upon you the idea that we can always strive for more. It's never good enough, and I failed to give you the unconditional love and support, the inclusivity, that space for you to be yourself. I mean, what can you expect? I fell for you as the image of you. That is who you were, and I thought I could adapt to like you for who you were, who you are, maybe. But I couldn't. And I always make that promise, and I lie to myself. I lie to my feelings, and that's something that I really did you wrong by, and I'm sorry for that. And to my first ever ex. Wow. I know I texted you recently. I know I'm still planning on getting you a Christmas gift, and you told me you'd get me one too, but we haven't talked since I told you that I don't think I could ever date someone like you, not how you are now, and I'm not going to be the man who's going to be able to help you change. Despite being so forward and saying that I still want to get with you, isn't that silly? You told me that you've liked me on and off for years, even while you watched me date other women, crash out, talk to you after you cuddled and dated one of my friends for a bit. We've had quite the story, me and you. A lot of going back and forth, and I don't really mind. There's something so beautifully imperfect about us. The way that we go back and forth. I always like talking with you. I got you in my car a few times, and we went on nice little outings. It's been difficult to get time with you, but it's been fun. I felt very loved in your hands. We went to a Barnes& and Noble. You showed me the candle smells that you like. We went to a movie, Wall Market, and you cuddled up next to me, and I really thought there was something so there. And yet, I got all excited. I wanted to finally go on a date with you. First date I had been on since I got most recently broken up with, and I wanted to get you out of the house because your parents were fighting, and you stayed. For some reason, I felt like you couldn't leave, and you texted me about it, and you broke down, and the story had happened to me a million times before, and I realized that you're the same person who, despite crying for help, couldn't let anyone in. And it was never my obligation to help you, but I always wanted it to be my obligation to support you and be there for you, and it never felt like that could be me. And to you it did. I know for sure that you even telling me felt like a huge piece of vulnerability. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people who work things out together, or at least want to see each other when times are tough. I like to believe that I positively add to your life. And when you push me away every time that times get tough, how can I believe that we're going to make it through tough times when you want to be anywhere else when times get tough? It's about togetherness through thick and thin. It's what I always believed it to be. And we could never have that. And any time that you went through emotional turmoil, things weren't perfect and ideal, you leave me. And honestly, leave me with no context either. Just ghost me. Still not great about texting on your phone, but you're really busy. And you're getting more independent now. And you can drive, but you hate driving. I like driving you around. And I miss when we just go around and talk about things. I feel so natural when I talk to you. And you haven't texted me back for a while. I think I double texted. But I told myself I'm not going to text you anymore. But I refuse to block you. I always like having that avenue open. And I've only ghosted you once. You texted me when I was with my most recent ex, and she said bad intentions. She might have been right. But I really wanted to see you. Maybe that's a red flag from me. Because there's something in my heart in which I feel like I never got closure. You suddenly ghosted me all the way back in middle school. And you told me that nothing actually. And we fought once a year. Every single year of high school. You get mad at me about getting some new girlfriend. You get mad at me if I tried to resolve our past. And if things were going rough for you and I wanted to just ask how you were doing, you get mad at me too. And you vehemently guard your secrets. You guard your inner peace, your inner being, and that's how you operate, I know. But I earnestly wish that you just let me in. And I'm not entitled to it. And it's not my place. But I missed you. Honestly, I still do. But I miss you, the good times you, the times when we communicate, when we laugh, when it's all just fun and jokes, and I want to go to Subway, and you hate Subway, but you go with me anyway. And we get a little sweet treat. It's always too sweet for you, but I drink your drink anyway. And we go on a walk, and you say, this is good exercise. But your blood pressure drops. And now we're sitting on a bench, barely made it up the hill, and you're out of breath, and you lean your head on my shoulder, and we just sit there and watch the view. I miss our little moments. It felt nice being in silence with you, and it felt nice talking to you. And that was the only time where I had the physical intimacy, and it felt well paced, and it progressed. And I didn't feel like I progressed too fast, and I was totally in trance and encapsulated, and I couldn't overthink because I was so lost in the moment. Ever since then, never been able to do that. Always ruin it. Say something stupid. Now I want to progress too fast. Or now I'm doing something that I'm unprepared for and I'm overthinking and I underperform. But with you, everything felt so natural. Still does. I'm going to buy you a Christmas present. Because I told you I would. I guess I'm still bad about making promises I can't keep. But it helps me if I feel like I followed through. The biggest regrets in my past come from feeling like I deliberately disserviced myself. Like in the moment, I didn't make the best decision for me. I can say that confidently about my second most recent ex, my third ex, and my fourth ex too. But you and my second ex hold a special place in my heart because I don't feel like, even if we did end on bad terms, I don't feel like it was the end of the world with us. And I still highly value you as people. And I know you've been through a lot, and I was never able to give you the understanding you were looking for, and I always pried because I felt entitled to know as your boyfriend how things were going, how your life was, and I honestly wasn't a great listener. I still aren't, clearly. But it's painful to say that I miss you, or I miss us. But I don't think we'll ever be. And some part of me will just have to get over it, because I'm the one that blatantly rejected you. This time. Because I realized I had to protect my peace. And since you haven't changed, and you're still a person that's going to push me away, how am I supposed to build the foundations on nothing? How am I supposed to build trust when I feel at any moment you'll run away from me and never come back? How am I supposed to build a relationship with somebody who sacrifices everything to make me happy and never really lets me know if she is truly happy herself? And how can I build a relationship when I suck at listening and I can never just understand somebody, and I don't feel like I ever will, or that I'm entitled to, or that it's a magic touch that I'm missing? I feel people should best represent themselves by clearly articulating their needs. But it's hard. And I do it too. And I believe in one thing, and I might feel another thing. And I don't blame any of my past lovers because of this, since I feel it too. And it's that difficult sensation, it's that realization that we're imperfect and we're still growing as individuals, and that no matter how much I grow, I feel like it's never enough. But I'm forever going to miss that feeling of it being so natural, of things progressing seemingly perfectly, of everything feeling right, and me ultimately having no gripes. And maybe it was just because everything was taken away from me so quickly. And even if there was things that didn't change and things seem like nothing could work out when I'm with you, it didn't feel like that at all. And then when we have time apart, it all sinks in. That's the terrible part of you. Entranced me. I know you're not good for me. I know that we're probably never going to work out. But you still have my number. You can still text me anytime. I think you're still working at Starbucks. And I hope you're doing well. But given your situation, it's hard to imagine it so. That being said, happy holidays. If you ever decide to reach out, I'll have a gift waiting for you. Okay.